Good evening and welcome to the Italian Impact Podcast. I am your host, Steve Stefano Mancini, and as always, I'd like to thank you, my listeners, for tuning in. It's been about 2 weeks since my last podcast. I took a little hiatus there, just very busy with the new honorary consulate duties. While I would like to say I knew it was coming, it's clear that I didn't know what was coming. It's been very busy, and I don't think, just kind of a general comment. Honorary positions are not limited to the Italian government. In fact, in Pittsburgh, we have something like 15 different countries that have honorary consulates. But I think what people got to understand is while on one hand, you are appointed by the Italian government or by the country that you represent, on the other hand, honorary means they don't pay you. So you do all kinds of work for them. You represent them, you sign papers, you answer phones, etc., but you don't get paid, which means you have a day job that pays your actual bills. So for folks, I am trying to be as responsive as possible, but what I notice is I am getting calls, and I want people to understand it's not a full-time body sitting in there. And that goes for any of the honorary consulates, whether all over the country. So they all have the same issue where they're honorary because it gives those countries a chance to have a representation in that area. But at the same time, they understand that you are a volunteer. They're not paying you, so you do it as is. I am trying to keep office hours, though, in the, quote, honorary consulate, Mondays and Fridays. In fact, if you go out on my Facebook, I just put a link up there today so you can go see, if you want to schedule an appointment, what services are offered. There are some things I can do. There are some things I can't do. One of the things that I absolutely cannot do is get you a sooner appointment. If it's not an emergency, please, as much as I would love to help you, don't call me and say, listen, I can't get an appointment. I understand that. And I am sympathetic towards that. Remember, I also get services and have gotten services, so I understand that. And I think having spoken with other honorary consulates from other countries, we are all kind of in the same boat. We're at the mercy of, the mothership. In my case, it's Philadelphia. But keep in mind, again, there's honorary Italian consulates all over the United States, and each one of them falls under a jurisdiction of an actual consulate in one of the major cities. So I am very proud and appreciative of all the support I've been getting, and I want to continue to support you. I just want everyone to understand, though, that this is a voluntary position, and I'm trying to give you regular hours, which are usually going to be once or twice a week, so that you can come down to the office, get things like passports, get things signed, witnesses, et cetera, et cetera. So go out there to the website, check it out, see what's going on, see what services I can provide, and then also see what services I can't provide. But if you have any questions, you're always free to reach out to my office, and I will gladly speak with you about anything, even if anything means, sorry, I can't help you, but I'll at least give you my time, so I'm here to serve you. In addition, as I keep mentioning, this is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. Sad fact, a lot of people don't know that. With that being said, the documentary that I pushed out last year, internationally award-winning, I'm very proud of that. Very proud of the team more than anything. Those guys did a fantastic job. This September, those families are coming back to Chambersburg, PA, to remember, the sacrifices of their fathers and grandfathers, and to just, show that unity that still exists between the United States and Italy as a result of the friendships that were formed when these men came over here as prisoners, and then they leave with a lot of friends from the area. In some cases, they came back. In some cases, some of the people over here went over there. So a lot of friendships formed that have an effect to this day. That's why history is always important. You're in the position you're in. We as a society are in the position we're in because of decisions that were made not just last week, but last year, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. History is very important, if for no other reason, just to understand your present circumstances. So again, I encourage you, if you have not seen the film Fedeltà, it's available on Amazon Prime. If you've seen it, thank you very much. But more importantly, watch it. And then I hope to see you there, and I will be there in Chambersburg in September 11th to welcome the families back. In fact, I was just speaking with the ex-president of the association this past weekend, and they're very excited to come out. There'll be about 30 families. So looking forward to, seeing them again and hopefully seeing some of you. All right. With that being said, I always tell you that the purpose of this show is to promote Italians and Italian-American culture and to promote different Italian businesses. I have a great guest here today who's going to talk a little bit about his business and about himself. Obviously, with a good Italian name, I want to believe that at least half of you is Italian, Michael.
It's true.
Good.
Actually, yes.
Well, no. We're going to get into you because with a name like Troiani, I even had to do the hand motions there. But Michael, I want to thank you again for taking time out of your schedule. I know you're very busy. Appreciate you actually coming into the studio. I understand not all guests can do that, but when they do, I think it gives us a little better rapport. So welcome to the show.
It's a privilege. Thank you so kindly for this time.
Oh, not a problem. And we were just talking a little bit before. You're from Pittsburgh then, born and raised?
Born in Beachview, grew up in Mount Lebanon. I'm fortunate to live back on the same street that I grew up on.
Now, you know what? Funny you say that. I grew up in Bloomfield, and it's not necessarily that they've turned it into mansions, but for whatever reason, a lot of people are coming in and want to live in the city, especially people that are not from Pittsburgh. So you get these young couples. So it's driving up the costs. Did you buy back in later on in life?
I did. I was very, very lucky. Yeah.
I want to talk about that because when you say I was very lucky, I take it that means you didn't have to pay, $400,000 for a home that somebody probably paid $75,000 for, 50 years ago.
Actually,
Uh-oh.
Cindy Sinceri helped me as a realtor.
Okay.
David and Cindy of the Penmack family. They've both been longtime friends, and Cindy helped. Actually, I went and looked at a house and brought my mom with me and said, "Hey, Mom, come take a look at this house." And she said, "It's perfect for me, but it's too small for you. Why don't you go find something else?" So she ended up moving on to Osage Lane, and I ended up on Osage just a few doors away.
Oh, nice. I have debated whether I want to live back in the city. I just don't want to pay City of Pittsburgh taxes, but that's another story. I don't know. You don't pay City of Pittsburgh.
I'm not City of Pittsburgh, but Mount Lebanon School District's commitment. It's an investment, really.
That's a good way to look at it. So let's talk a little bit about it. You grew up, obviously, Italian family.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What was life like? Was that a prominent piece, or was that just by coincidence Italian family?
Being Italian was a part of life.
A conscious part.
A conscious part of life. My father was a very proud Italian, very proud Abruzzese, and we're very fortunate to be connected to the town of my grandfather's birth, near to L'Aquila. It's a little farming community called Novelli, where they celebrate garbanzo beans and saffron.
Oh.
So in the summer when we're fortunate we get to go and visit, we have a home. We're fortunate to have a home. My dad found a beautiful place, and it's right next door to my great uncle's home, and we get to participate, and I'll help make gnocchi for the festival, and me is surrounded by 40 Italian women rolling gnocchi and making stuffed ravioli and all sorts of wonderful foods for our festival.
Now, did your dad immigrate here?
My grandfather did in 1913. Ooh. So supposedly he stopped at every bar along the way from Novelli to Rome, and somehow he ended up going all the way to Washington State before coming back to Pittsburgh, which I just couldn't imagine.
Is it relatives or maybe work?
I don't know. I can't even imagine.
Didn't stop at the bars.
I mean, to go all the way to Washington State without no navigation, no phones, no anything. I can't even imagine that journey he took on.
Especially back then. That's pre-war. Pre-World War I.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky if you're using telegrams.
Wow,
that's crazy.
And the whole spirit was to create a better life for family. And
so he didn't know where he was going to settle then. He was just looking till he went all the way across and said, okay, I'm going back to Pittsburgh. Did you meet him?
I didn't. I was never, fortunately, I didn't get the opportunity to meet my grandfather.
So he never said, did you ever know the story why he came back to Pittsburgh?
I mean, it was outright to make a better life for his family. That's why he came to Pittsburgh.
But I mean, having gone all up to the reason I say is going up to Washington State and then turning around and coming back to Pittsburgh. I was curious.
Lord only knows. I mean, it's just a quest. I mean, to outright make a better life for the family. And he ended up living up on Crawford Street in the Hill District, overlooking the Strip District, much alike how in the town in Italy he lived up on top of the town, looking over the town. I think whenever you go to the grocery store, you try to park where you parked last time, just in the same capacity.
It's funny you say that, though, because I had heard once that a lot of the people from Abruzzo liked Pittsburgh, and I've been to the region. They liked it because the climate and in some ways the topology, the geographic composition of it, the mountains, the hills and stuff, are similar enough that there was I don't want to say close your eyes and you almost feel like you're there, especially back then. But I'd be curious.
Yeah, you have the rolling hills, the nestled communities, the homes stacked upon homes, such as in the South Side or in the West End, and in that way, it's very similar. Abruzzo, I think, is a little bit more mountainous and a little bit more arid and
Right.
a little bit. I mean, in Abruzzo, I'm fond of driving through the mountains and seeing packs of wild horses in the mountains. And
Oh wow! I've
so-
never come across that. I've only been to that area twice, but I've had some nice tours in some of the towns. But I've never been able to just get out and go.
I think Abruzzo is about 70% national park.
Right.
So it's supposed to be one of the greenest areas in all of Europe, actually. So it's
pretty.
It's really pretty, and it's not the most touristy area.
So funny you say that, because when I was down in Calabria, it was kind of the same thing. You go down there, and I always thought, and I guess maybe it depends where you're at, maybe closer you get to Sicily, but I always thought it's going to be more, I don't want to say desert, but more arid. When you go down there, I mean, it is green, mountains, beautiful, and I think what chases away the tourists is there's no, especially Americans, they want the convenience locations. I'm going to go to Rome. I'm going to go to Naples. I'm going to go, big city, fly on a big airplane, take tour. If I can't get somewhere else easily, I'll probably never go there. People aren't inclined to just, hey, we're going to rent a car and we're going to drive, 3 hours over to Abruzzo. You've probably been going there since you were young.
I'm fortunate to have been going there since I was young, and I can tell you it's 24 tunnels from Fiumicino to our town. So
How long? How many hours?
it's only an hour and 40 minutes or so. It's not that far of a drive.
Okay, but it's in Abruzzo from the... Interesting, because I go back in July to shoot a film, and I'm going to be staying in Rome.
Okay.
And every day I'm going to drive to Abruzzo in the morning and come back in the evening. Was that about 2 hours, I'm thinking?
Yeah.
All right. Not 3, though.
No. Well, I mean, Abruzzo's a big place, so
Right.
maybe.
Depends where.
Depends.
I'll be going to the, not Ataleta. Well, I'll go to there, but in that kind of central, L'Aquila and all that stuff.
L'Aquila is very special. Pescara is a beautiful place.
No, Pescara. I was in Pesco Costanza, which is another, they're so picturesque. You're in the town, and you look out, to your point, you just look down in these beautiful valleys, and you look way across, there's another little town. You're like,
Yeah.
man.
One town after the other, and it's really, that's how they protected themselves, is they'd build walls, and they'd build the town inside the towns. They'd have pigeons to take messages from one town to the other, and they really, truly were villages.
Right.
They took care of each other, and they had communal olive orchards, and they really looked out for each other. For us, our town, their festival is how they raise money to do infrastructure projects and extend the gas line or the water lines or maintain the roads, because they just don't tax the same way here as they do here.
I think a lot of Americans would be surprised the way the tax system works over there. In fact, I am still my goal / dream to buy a place over there, because I'd like to go over there to retire, or at least stay there. I'm a dual citizen, so I'd like to go over there and stay more than 3 months. Maybe you go there 6 months, come, bebop back and forth, whatever. And I remember I was asking a friend of mine, I said, oh, how do the taxes, if you buy property? I said, every year we pay school tax, we pay county tax. He looked at me, he said, what? I said, we pay tax on everything in this country. We fought a war over taxes, but I think the war was really about we want to pay more taxes, because it doesn't make sense that literally this country was founded on, unjust taxation, and yet we pay tax on everything. They don't even pay that over there in Italy.
Pretty sure it's consumption-based is the majority of the revenue. But, I mean, there is a
Which
little
makes
bit of property
sense.
tax, but
Yeah,
it's
but
pretty much consumption-based.
But it's peanuts compared to what we're paying here, especially, I used to Mount Lebanon. I'm out in Kennedy, but I'm Montour School District, which, again, the kids need the best, football arenas, sarcasm intended. But let's talk about growing up now. So now you grow up in the family, Italian's part of the culture. Tell me some things you remember that you specifically remember where the family was emphasizing a cultural aspect.
For us, it was always about food and family and celebrating family with food. Certainly Sunday dinners or all throughout life have been important to the bringing together of family, the assembling whatever we're cooking today, helping produce the food in the kitchens, just being together, enjoying that time, blocking that time as a family. That was certainly very important to me growing up.
Now, obviously, we're going to get into the whole restaurant stuff here, but let's ask, did you develop then that passion for cooking and that kind of, early on, or was it something?
Yeah, I mean, my theory is if you want to eat well, you're going to be a cook.
Touche.
Yeah.
That's why I don't eat well. That's why I'm a Doritos. No, I'm not really. I mean, I'm a chips and salsa guy at night in front of the TV.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. You know, it's pretty whole foods. It's pretty.
I want to
simple.
pretend like I'm eating vegetables.
Okay.
I close my eyes. I forget the fact that these chips are made in some kind of oil that's probably toxic. I'm going to just keep eating the salsa.
I just heard recently that broccoli is a completely contrived vegetable, that it's not naturally occurring at all. That's a man-contrived vegetable. So, you never know.
Well, it's funny you say that, because you don't know what to believe anymore. There's a study for and against everything. Eggs were good for you, bad for you, good for you. You know, this is going to sound crazy. You know, people say, "Oh, you're supposed to drink 8 ounces of water a day." I just watched something. So actually, it's not really good for you because your kidneys. And I'm thinking, what am I supposed to believe?
They made that 8 glasses of water up, and they just stuck with it.
Because you got to wonder, where does it come from? Where's the study? I've seen people. You go over in Italy, you see, because they don't drink any water. They're drinking a couple of espressos in the morning. A little bit of wine later on. Maybe a late coffee, something, and you're thinking, they're not drinking 8 cups of coffee, and they're living to be in their 90s. So what's going on here, you know?
I think it's the naps, actually. I think the reason why you want to live in Italy, and the reason why I want to live in Italy, is to normalize the napping, to make it a part of life. Because if you can, I think that second waking is really healthy.
I want to touch on that. I'm going to get back to that, because I want to go on the record in front of everyone saying I'm officially a fan of naps.
I think it's part of the healthy. It's a significant part of the healthy lifestyle.
That's interesting, because it's certain cultures that's the siesta, whatever. But folks, we're going to be right back after these messages.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. For all of your plumbing needs, be sure to try Palucci Plumbing. Nick and the team have decades of experience and will get you back up and running. For more information, call Palucci Plumbing at 412-782-5050. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support. And we want to thank La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei, the only nonprofit school in Pittsburgh endorsed by the Italian Consulate. If you're interested in learning Italian or have your children being immersed in the Italian culture and language, be sure to give them a call at 412-404-7070. And that's La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei. We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074. All right, welcome back. Now, where we left off was I was telling you how much I like naps, and you're going to tell me why that is a good thing.
I think that just the breaking of the day, the fact that families come together.
You think it's more psychological, or do you think there's a physical aspect to it?
Well, I think it's both. They're both connected very much. The physiology of it all to have that little, just to rest. For goodness sake, we don't rest anymore.
No,
we chase our tails in circles to pay taxes and die young. The Italians live to live. They may have some controversy. They may have some argument. They may deliberate about this or that, but ultimately, They put it all on the table. Right. They don't carry anything with them. And
well, there's an old adage, the Americans, we live to work, and the Europeans work to live. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. Papa J's, let's talk about it. Tell me about it. Tell me the history.
Well, my mother and father opened Papa J's in 1987 in Carnegie, and it's really the celebration of food and the style that we would eat at home. And it's a very simple American Italian cuisine. It's something very special. Very simple food, beautiful food, simply prepared to be shared with family and friends. All that's needed is a warm heart, an eye for the freshest ingredients, and a sense of adventure to lead you to a place at our table.
I don't want to use the old cliche, what makes you unique, but obviously restaurants are something, especially mom and pop restaurants, that they kind of go down one of two paths. Either, it's the third generation doing it, or the second generation doesn't want to take it over and they fold. And I've seen that when I grew up in Bloomfield. You see some great restaurants and they're gone, or great stores and they're gone because the son, or they just didn't want to do it anymore. Is this a passion for you in the sense that you want to honor them, or is this just something you legitimately like doing?
It's the most honest thing that I know how to do. I don't have to lie to anybody. I don't have to cheat. It's honest work. I go to bed tired. I could probably find easier things to do as a profession, but it's something I'm proud of and proud to teach my kids.
Now, you cook, though. I mean, you're actually in the back doing...
There's nothing I don't do. I was a baker for many years in our old restaurant. I worked as a line cook for many years. I often say I've worn out shoes in every position in a restaurant, and in a day I wear a lot of different hats.
Did you feel that at a young age you said, this is probably, I see myself doing it? A lot of times people say, well, what did you see yourself doing when you're 18, 19, 20 years old? Some people say, I never thought I'd be doing this. Is this what you thought?
As I went off to school, I just like to read. I liked literature. I just like to read. So I wasn't really the most directed student in college, but I ultimately just wanted to learn and be a student of life and be available to be in support of my family. My family has always had almost my whole life had restaurants, but also really been in the property development business, parking operations, residential dwelling units, commercial offices. So it's all of those things. I do all of those things, but I am most captured and most occupied with food service and hospitality services.
So is your passion in that particular place because of your parents, or you just?
Yeah, 100%. My dad used to build Pizza Huts for PepsiCo as a young man. So he did that for a number of years, and then he went on and would buy buildings and build out restaurants. And this opportunity for this Papa J's, we had a great restaurant in Carnegie that we lost to a fire, and this commitment in the Strip District location at the Twin Plaza building, we built it out ourselves. We're general contractors also. We did the work to build it out ourselves, and I was proud to accomplish that. Open this store up really myself and with my partner Keenan Adams in life and in operations. She's a wonderful person, and registered nurse who is our gelato maker together with my daughter.
Everyone needs a nurse gelato maker. I just want to go on record
It's
with
pretty
saying
nice. Yeah, she's really special. I'm really lucky. But on Saturday I'll work all day with my kids and my partner, and we'll feed 400, 500 people, and it's a real honest thing to do. And we're making fresh pasta. We make fresh stuffed pastas, fresh ravioli, tortellini. We make gnocchi, all by hand, really.
What about the sauce?
Very simple pan sauce. Takes as long to make our marinara sauce as it does to boil and cook the pasta. For us, it's a quick sauce. There's lots of different ways, and I love all sorts of different things. So
it's not the all day, throw it in the big pot and boil it away.
Not our style,
okay.
But that's the whole thing, is that everyone has their own style, and it's nice to understand other people's ways and to respect them and to learn.
Is this a generational recipe, or is this just something you guys kind of played around with and said, well, this is perfect for what we're doing?
Well, it's pretty much my father was the director, my mom executed, and every day we throw the water on the ground and find the level and adapt to the market and give the people what they want today.
Well, I got a box of fresh pasta here that I'm actually looking forward to, because and I want to talk about that, because not all food. This is going to be like the biggest duh, but not all quote fresh pasta is the same, and I understand that. But are there certain, like if I'm looking at boxes, and I'll give you kind of a good example. I was down the Strip a couple weeks ago. And, I won't say that it was another one of the stores that was down there, and they were selling their, quote, homemade stuff. Is there something, And I get it, taste, I get it. But if somebody's walking down, they say, okay, here's one imported from Italy, here's one that's imported from Italy, here's one that's somebody, what am I looking for? Call it for an elimination. Like, because, some of the stuff is just processed, large factories, and some of it is mom and pop in the back making it. What would you tell someone that says, look, I'm looking for a good pasta, just to start there, to see what might appeal to me? What would you tell them to look for?
Depends what you like, because there's no right or wrong. I've grown up on, and most people around have grown up on, like a Barilla pasta, which is a softer wheat, and my preference has developed, and now I like a semolina-based pasta. It's got a more firm bite, and when our style, and which is my preference, is a semolina-based pasta extruded from a bronze die and then slowly dried. And when you have that type of pasta, what happens is that it has a durable bite. The semolina is a harder wheat, and when you have a semolina flour, it has, if the wheat berry is an egg, it would have both the shell, the white part, and the yolk. So it has the protein, the fiber, and the starch. So it's a more whole flour, semolina-based flour, versus a soft wheat. And in that it is extruded through bronze dies, it is porous, so that when you cook it, it leaches starch. And then that starch becomes a magic ingredient. And so as you have a sauce, whether it's whatever your preference is, a lot of times the trick is to put a little bit of the pasta water into the sauce and then marry the sauce and the noodle together. And what that does is the pasta water becomes organic once the starch leaches into it, and then as you combine it to the sauce, the solids in the sauce join to the water because it's got the suspended solids, and then it becomes one combined dish rather than a pasta and a sauce that are separate.
Well, that's funny you say that, because kind of go back. When you boil the pasta, I was always taught olive oil and salt.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's a big people talk about olive oil being bad in pasta water when it's boiled. What olive oil does when you're boiling water is it diminishes the bubbles mechanically. It pops the bubbles on the top of the water.
So it doesn't do anything for the actual pasta cooking.
In my experience and what I understand, not as much. It's valuable in that it pops the bubbles in the top of the water.
But what does that do, other than just not boil over the pot?
Well, that's pretty valuable. I don't
Touche. No, that's a good point.
A wooden spoon will do the same thing.
Right. So I could be, in a sense, I'm wasting olive oil.
You could use peanut oil. You could. I mean, the thing about olive oil is olive oil is special. Olive oil is a finishing oil. Even more and more, I find, like, if I'm going to make a chicken Milanese or a chicken Romano, I'll reach for a peanut oil, because it's a higher temperature oil, it's a higher smoke point, it doesn't impart any taste, and before any sort of Italian scorn for that, I would have never done that had my relative Santina in Toronto not done it, and I witnessed her do it, and she's the most discriminate cook I've ever had the opportunity to work with. But when I saw her prepare chicken Milanese in peanut oil, I was able to perspective shift and accept that it's a better oil for those things.
I heard some hand wringing the first time you saw that. Oh my God, she must be an accident. She must be moving that off the shelf. Wait a minute, no, she's using it. Are there oils that are no good for you though? Not just in the sense that they don't really do anything for the cooking, but just avoid these oils.
Yeah, I think, these days all those like canola oil and like industrial machine oils that we've decided Americans have.
They're cheap to make. Yeah, they're
people
cheap to
learn
make.
That they're edible and they can mix oil and salt and sugar and fatten people up for cheap. And but really, olive oil is something special. Like our favorite thing whenever we'd go to.
It's super healthy.
It's super healthy.
Yeah, but you said peanut oil. That's interesting because I don't know where that sits on that spectrum of, is it an artificial kind of, hey, peanuts are cheap, we can make peanut oil, or is it, no, it's still healthy for you?
It's a sought-after oil in the culinary world. It is a higher quality oil.
When you say peanut, I'm talking about like the peanuts. Like
it's highly refined, though, so even the FDA doesn't even require you to indicate its use for allergens. That's not an allergen for folks that have allergies to peanut. And so far as it goes, That's what Chick-fil-A uses to fry chicken, and they've fried more chicken than I ever will.
Well, that's a good point. Let me ask you, though, going back to those artificial oils, what was also interesting was that a lot of colors are actually petroleum-based. And this kind of goes back where I go with the pastas. Are there things, if I'm looking at the ingredients, are there things I'm going to say, I don't want that brand, it's just machine factory, mass produced, quote, spaghetti, or, not? What are things I would want to avoid?
I generally look for a product that has someone's name and a date on it. If someone's willing to put their name and identify a point of origin, then they're being accountable to it. Otherwise, I really like Checo pasta. It always has a nice bite. I like a lot of Barilla pastas too.
I use that. Interesting, but you also make your own.
At our store, we only use pasta we make in-house, whether it's extruded or laminated, sheeted, and then hand-shaped.
Now, let's talk about Papa J's. What makes you different?
We generally do everything the hard way, straight up and down. It's a fully exposed kitchen. There's nowhere to hide. You see us all in production. Sometimes we're singing hymns together, and sometimes we're at each other's throats, and it's all part of
that's the authenticity.
Part of the entertainment.
If you're not yelling at each other, there's something wrong. I believe that in the kitchen.
Certainly a lot of passion. I work with a gentleman I've worked with for 30 years. We helped him naturalize from Nigeria, and he's so passionate. Another gentleman who I've worked with for 20 years, and he used to build ovens in Italy and manage a string of pizza shops up and down the coast in New England. And it's not a big crew, but they're tremendously talented people, and we all care very much about each other and pour our hearts into it. And so the pasta, we make all the pasta fresh on site. The pizza, we make a high hydration dough. It's nearly equal parts flour and water, a custom flour blend, and we mix it over a period of an hour in stages to get the dough to first. We mix it dry so it develops gluten, and then we rest, add water, mix, add rest, add water, mix, rest, add water, mix. So it's a 4-stage mix to get the dough to accept that much water, and then we rest it for 4 days. So our pizza dough has a lot of flavor, and most people don't go through that effort.
No, it's interesting because you know what? This is why I'm not a cook, because there's a lot of little subtleties that differentiate good food from okay food from yuck. A lot of the processed stuff we eat, and most of what people eat is processed, even in the restaurants. It's processed food. And it's always some type of ingredient that's essentially getting you hooked. It's a sucrose, something else, dextrose, corn syrup, sugar, whatever. And everything they put something that gets you hooked to the food. But as a real cook, if you're going to do it right, there are a lot of little details. And I give you one kind of a funny story. Years and years and years ago, I decided to make a carrot cake. And I got the ingredients and I mixed it. Then I met a chef and he said, here's the problem. You overmixed it. You lost the air in the bun. And I'm thinking, how would you know this stuff? And I mean, that is where the expertise in cooking comes in versus just mixing ingredients.
It's ultimately about learning what you like and then learning how what you did caused what happened. And if you liked it, how to do it again that way. And
I don't think I could do anything I've made again. I don't think I'd want to do anything I made again.
My daughter keeps asking me about that chili I made one time. I've never been able to make it quite the same way.
I can't duplicate it.
Yeah.
So what's next? What do you guys, you don't want to go stale. On the other hand, you don't want to change the recipes too much. What's next?
I mean, every single day is what's next. Every single opportunity anyone chooses to walk in the door to honor that opportunity is what's next. On tomorrow, I'll teach a pasta making class to a friend, the Massaro construction group, bringing 16 people in, and I've taught a bunch of. I look forward to having more time to set up an online enrollment on our website for ticketing for pasta making on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
So they come down to the restaurant?
Yeah, right on site. We have about we started with 6,500 square feet at our Twin Plaza building, and we've added another 2,000 square feet, and so it's a big restaurant.
Right.
And we call it Papa J's Twin Plaza because it's Papa J's is a known name, and it's at our Twin Plaza building. So it's an initiative in placemaking, so that way folks understand it's Papa J's at the Twin Plaza building. Nice. And we own the building, and we've had the opportunity to renovate the electric service, the windows, the roof, the water service, all the infrastructure, and to show off our pride in how we've treated the building is something I'm excited to do, and to welcome our guests into the space. So pasta making's fun. Events are a blast. We've had the opportunity to welcome Pittsburgh's mayor for his Christmas party, the county's executive for her Christmas party, and to be called on to serve people like that is really special. So for their Christmas parties, we served a great meal. I made really fun stuffed pastas and made pizzelle during the event, just to make it special for them.
You're never going to go wrong with pizzelles. I just want you to know that.
I mean, what a wonderful smell.
I love it. People don't like anise seed. I'm like, I love it.
I like anise, but I don't like the way my mom did it. She just it was a hint. It wasn't the focus.
Oh, you don't want to overpower. Yeah. Because I don't mind that in like the biscottis that have the anise seed, and I just love that. But
I do too. Those were my aunt used to. I'd feel lucky every time we'd get the box from her.
All right, where can folks go find more about you?
Right at 21st and Smallman is our brick and mortar store, and we are open Wednesday through Sunday lunch and dinner, and I will be there. My partner Keenan will be there. On the weekends, my kids will be there. Our website's a great resource. You can make reservations, online orders, read a little bit about our passion, really. And
that website address will be down in the description, so I hope to see you there. I'm down to Strip a lot more now these days, now that, this big yellow thing in the sky, sun, that's it. Now that it's back, I'm going to be down to Strip a little more. I can't wait to come down there and join you. And again, I encourage anyone, listening, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, if you're down in the Strip, lots of places to get a great coffee. Got lots of places to eat. So, we're famous for just having a lot of variety. Papa J's is a wonderful place. If you get a chance to come down there and enjoy it, and please stop in and tell Michael I said hello. And with that being said, Michael, I want to thank you again for coming today.
Steve, I want to thank you for your services to Italy and to the citizens around here. And I know that a lot of those diplomacy issues are not easy.
Good times, Michael. Good times.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Again, I do it for the community, because what I've learned since I've started doing it is, look, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Because I'll tell you what, this is. I don't think people understand. This is like, you're the honorary consul. Yeah, that's great. It's a lot of work to it.
The reward for good work is more work.
I believe that. And I've always believed that. But you know what? If you're not going to do it, who's going to do it? So, fine. I'll be the guy that keeps getting more and more. It's always been like that. I don't have a problem with that. That's what makes me crazy, Michael. That's what makes me crazy. But anyways, I want to thank you again very much for coming into the studio. I want to thank you for introducing me to the restaurant. I want to thank you for the fresh pasta. I'm actually looking really forward to that. Again, the flat stuff, I just read something that said the flat dough is the better stuff instead of the shiny stuff. I'm going to test that theory. But again, I want to thank you for joining me. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. And as always, I want you to have a wonderful, blessed weekend. Go out to ItalianImpactWeekly.com if you have not had a chance to watch any previous episodes, or if you would like to reach out, I can be reached at questions@ItalianImpactWeekly.com. And I've actually got a few recommendations for guests, so you're going to be very surprised over the next few weeks who's going to be joining me, and that all came in through the email. So please, if you have any suggestions for guests, I am all ears. And I would also like to thank my listeners all over the world. Again, my folks, especially tuning in from Australia, Canada, Singapore, Italy, places in Africa, Asia, other countries, South America, a lot of people in Brazil. I don't know how you're finding me. Keep finding me. Keep tuning in. God bless you, and I will see you next week.